Hello everyone, in today's lab I'm going to show you all how to, a little introduction on motion graphics using the mesh network built inside of Maya. So in its way it's kind of like, it's, it's kind of like a easy way for artists to utilize programming that's already built in. So all we kind of have to do is click some buttons and connect some dots. But we don't have to go through all the typing, right? Or the errors, right? I'm sure we'll make some of our own, but you get the idea. We wouldn't have to go through and do this, line of code by line by everything, parentheses, brackets, sourcing, whatever. So it just makes it a much easier way to sort of create quick, easy, simple motion graphics. So on this one, I have this scattered little rectangular cubes, randomized. And basically Maya did all of this for me. I just kind of had to tell it how to do it. So I created a little animation, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit play. Don't delay, hit play. And you'll see it forms a little kitty cat, right? I did it sort of in light of Halloween, right? Anyway, so I've got this cat, and it's pretty cool. I'm sure you can think of a million ways or other movies or things you've seen kind of do similar animations for, especially in like intros of things. But you'll see it just kind of softly turns back into a cat. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to do a file, new scene, just start with a blank slate. And from here, very, very simple, I'm going to start to show you how I did this. So the first step is going to be creating a cube. And the next step is going to my mesh tab. Now I'm on my modeling tab here. I'm going to click on mesh, and I'm going to click on the mesh network, create mesh network. It's also under the motion graphics tab, but it doesn't matter what, they're both the same exact thing. So I'll go ahead and click on mesh. So now make sure you have your outliner open. You're going to need it. And you have your polycube one that you created, which is the original. Now it hides it once you create that mesh network. And the mesh network creates basically a reproduction mesh of it. So you'll see it says mesh 1 repro mesh. And it just reproduces it with, in a really, as layman terms, it has some programming built into it. That's why it reproduced it 10 times. Now I'm going to show you what it does by default. So, and you can change all these settings. So we're going to switch to our mesh 1 distribute, right? If you click on mesh 1 distribute, either or, right? They're all connected, so you can find these if I click on the mesh repro, mesh 1 distribute, because it's all one connected network. Easiest way to find it is just to click on your mesh. And if you don't remember, or if you didn't set up Maya the way I had introduced in some of the earliest labs, Windows, where is it? Where's the outliner? Outliner. I'm trying to go through all these tabs. Windows, outliner, and that's it. That'll toggle it on and off. So I've got mine right here, and I just docked it here to the side. So click on mesh, go to your mesh 1 distribute, and I just want to show you, you can create a number of different points. You can change the way it is. You can change, on this one it has its own built-in radius thing, but I'm just going to stick with linear, and you can play around with all these. They do everything they say they do. But we're just going to keep it simple. They have a spherical one, but you'd have to add a lot more cubes to it for it to sort of fill out. But I'm going to stick with linear and stick with that 10 by default. But just to give you a glimpse of the simplicity of it, really makes it easy to work with. So now that I've got my polycubes here reproduced within this mesh network, so I need to create one more thing. So really all we've done so far is 2 steps. We've created a cube, and then we created a mesh network. And that's really all we've done so far. The next thing we need to do, we're going to go back to our poly modeling tab, and I'm going to create a polyplane. I'm going to rotate it on the y-axis at 90 degrees, and I'm going to just scale this up. That's way too big. Oh, but on top of that, I need to go to my attribute editor. It's not too big, excuse me. I'm going to change my subdivisions to 60 and 60 as well. So I just changed my, rotated it at 90 degrees and did scale X, Y, and Z, even though there really kind of isn't a Z axis on this, because it doesn't have any depth, to 60, just to make it easier for everyone to follow. So, and then I changed my subdivisions to 60 and 60. And the point of this is, I might actually have to scale this a little bit bigger. I want these cubes to be able to fit inside the center of each one of these polys. So I'm going to scale it a little bit bigger. Let's just stick with, oh, I'm at 90. 90 by 90 by 90. But I'm going to keep my 60 by 60 on the subdivision width and height. So I think that will work. You could always double check it. It'll definitely work. All right, so these cubes will fit inside each one of these little polyplanes on the on this mesh. So now I basically need to tell Maya that I want this to connect to this. So how do I do that? I'm going to click on my mesh, on my outliner, my mesh one network, and I'm going to change my distribution type from linear to mesh. Now I need to connect mesh. So input mesh right here. The easiest way to do this, I'm going to click on this. I can even change it to like cat silhouette poly plane mesh. And the easiest way to do this is on my mesh one network. I'm going to go ahead and middle mouse button click, not left click, not right click. I'm going to middle mouse button click and drag, hold on, and drag this over. You'll notice my little arrow key, arrow tool has a little plus sign in a box directly underneath it, and that means to add. So I'm going to drag that right there, and now it's pulling that information over. So the mesh one network knows its distribution type is going to be by this polyplane. Now it says under method, it says scatter. So you'll see by default it goes to scatter. So you'll see that I've got all of these sort of randomly scattered. Let me make it maybe a little bit easier for you to see. It took all my 10 cubes and just kind of randomly placed them around, and it looks like, yeah, they just kind of randomly placed them around. They're not even just right on the dead center vertex of anything. So, but you could set it to vertex and you'll see it snaps to the vertices. You could set it to random vertex and it's randomly going to snap to the vertices. But on this one, I think we're going to go with face center. Now, we could go ahead and play around with some math and things, but we want to limit our math because the software is supposed to do a lot of this for us. So if I click on this little checkbox here, flood mesh, you'll see it instantly snaps a cube and distributes a cube to every single center of each poly or face here, because I have it set to face center, on this mesh. Now, on my polyplane, I can tap H on it or turn off the visibility. Keyboard shortcut, H to hide it. And now you can see my, just the cubes. I don't need to be able to see the cat silhouette. Other ways to do it. You could still click on it, it's still there, and tap H for it to reappear. I mean, you could always turn, you see the visibility, turns on and off. That's another way to do it. So, now I've got my Mesh 1 repro started. So it's kind of in the middle of this phase of what we need to do to get it to look like a cat. We have to do a couple more steps. And you don't have to do this little cat that I'm doing. I just chose it. I thought it was a cute little image to work with. So now I've got my Mesh 1 network. But I need to find... so, excuse me, I had to think for a second. I need to add a visibility node to this. So I've got the start to it. So adding the visibility, we're going to be able to adjust the visibility of it. And in this case, we're going to be using just a simple image, black and white image. So I'm going to click on this. So I'm on my Mesh 1. On my Mesh 1 in the attribute editor, and where it says visibility, I'm going to just left click and do add visibility node. It's going to pop right up for you, and you click that. So from here, the next thing I got to do, and you might be able to figure this out, but if you give it a little thought, we need to pull that image. And the only place we can pull that image from, obviously, is this one. So you see where it says strength map? We're going to click on the little checkerboard as we do adding any texture file, and we're going to go to File and locate that file. And I'm going to click on Open. So I've got my image here, but it's still, it's actually worse than when we started. Everything's kind of gone. Everything disappeared, right? So I need to go back to my Mesh network here after I add that file. And I need to do map helper. So we're going to take the cat silhouette. We're going to drag that over here. And now you should see it. And I did the middle mouse button click and dragged it over to my map helper under Mesh 1 visibility. So after you assign that strength map, you need to add the map helper. So those are two, they're almost like, it's almost like doing the same thing twice, but it's not. Because on the strength map, we're adding the image file. On the map helper, we're basically telling it where the image is going to be applied to. So you can actually see it here. Anyway, let me do that one more time. Undoing this a couple times, so I'm going to probably... So from here again, let me start this one more time from this point, because I know I got a little caught up. So from here, I needed to add the strength map, locate that file. This is something we've done a bajillion times, right? Motion graphics, locate your image, and everything's gone. But if we go back here and then to our map helper, we just have to tell it that, and we're going to middle mouse button click the polyplane mesh, my cat silhouette polyplane mesh, and just click and drag and release. And now it knows what mesh it's pulling from and the strength map itself. So, and we already told it to have these cubes be on the center face of each face on the polyplane, which was distributed 60 by 60. I know it sounds more confusing than it really is, but this is probably the most confusing part because everything disappears for a second, and I don't want you to get sort of freaked out from it. So it's pretty simple. You just add the map and then add the polyplane on that visibility node. Now, this is a great start, but it's not, we're not done yet. So I want you to create a little animation with this. Now, we're going to utilize the random node, as you saw that I had done in the at the beginning of this video. So under Mash 1, I'm going to go ahead and do random. I'm going to left click on it, excuse me. I'm going to add a random node. And you'll see it starts to sort of scatter it out. It still has that kind of shape to it, but it's not doing a whole lot. So you can actually change this positioning. I just went ahead and did, I just used the sliders. You can probably go further, 50, 100, whatever. You can do rotations. Scaling on the y-axis is actually going to be the horizontal one, because when we flipped our polyplane, we basically, and when the cube snapped to it, it changes the, it just changes where the axis actually is. So hope that makes sense to you, but if not, just remember that y scales it out. If you wanted it to scale out, you could have it scale in any direction you wanted. Doesn't really matter. I just did y for it because it was horizontally going with it. And anyway, you can play around with the rotation. If you play around with y, you can do it on any one of these. So x, y, or z. And then, let's see, let's do these 50 by 50 by 50. And that's what I did. So you can see that it's just like a big little scattered cube of these rectangular shapes, and they have some strangeness to it. Now the easiest way to animate this is just using this strength slider. So when I bring it to 0, there's 0 strength on it. When I bring it to 1, it sort of explodes it. So anyway, I'm going to start on this case. This is going to be, I'm going to just start on frame 120 so you can see it, or let's see, 105 works. So on frame 105, I'm going to tap S, and then on frame 245, I'm going to change my slider and tap S again. And now when I play this back, now if you combine the two that we just did, where you maybe drop your text down simultaneously, doing some rotational things, or even if you wanted to utilize it in here somehow, but you get the idea where I'm going with this. Let's just say you have your text falling down from the top of the screen, doing some cool little rotations, and then you have this little exploded kitty cat come together, Kitty Cat Productions or something. It'd be a cool little intro scene. So I figured it was a good lab for you to kind of expand some of your animation skills so far. If you do have questions, just shoot me a message on Canvas inbox. It's really not, I think if you overthink this lab, it'll be hard for you. If you just follow it step by step, it's going to be super simple. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this lab. For submission, I would like you to, if you struggle with the Play Blast, feel free to submit the Maya file. I'm good with that. Again, Play Blast, if I hit my right click on the play button down here and go to my little options box, AVI is like a Microsoft one. QT is for QuickTime. I find it to work a little bit better for me and my personal computer, but I won't have any issues either way with your submissions. I prefer QuickTime. That'd be pretty cool. And then encoding, PNG is fine. Quality doesn't have to be perfect. The lower the quality, the quicker it'll play. Frame padding, whatever. And you can hit save to file and then just browse where you're going to save that file. Lab 23. I just showed this to you in the last lab, so And it's not really a explosion, whatever, that's fine. And then I'm just gonna hit save. That's where I'm saving it. I saved my name, and then I'm just gonna hit play blast. And then you could go ahead and submit your play blast. If not, totally fine. Or just submit both if you're not unsure. Just submit both. And now I've got my little cat animation. Mine starts on like frame 100, so 4.5 to 5 seconds it should start. And there we go. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the lab. Again, message me on Canvas inbox if you have any questions. But other than that, stay tuned for the next one, and I'll see you soon.